Tonight on Y News. Malacañang clarifies the Philippines does not recognize China's claim to Manila's exclusive economic zone in the South China Sea. Vice President Leni Robredo's camp questions the office of the Solicitor General's alleged involvement in the drafting of the affidavit of Peter Jomel Advincula, alias Bikoy. Department of the Interior and Local Government sets a 60-day deadline for local government units to clear roads in their areas or face investigation and possible suspension. The voter registration for the May 2020 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections to proceed next week, despite President Duterte's call for its postponement. And the Philippines climbs up by 19 notches in the recently released Global Innovation Index 2019 rankings. Good evening. Malacañang clarifies the Duterte administration does not recognize China's legal possession of the disputed West Philippine Sea. The presidential spokesperson says that as far as the Philippines is concerned, the territory is legally ours. Rosalie Cos explains why.
China believes it has legal possession of the disputed territory in the West Philippine Sea and not the Duterte administration. This is the clarification of Malacañang after Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio said that presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo's remark that China's legal possession weakens the Philippines' position over China in the maritime dispute.
Kasi by historical right daw, they've been there all the while. Kaya hindi ba sinasabi nila? In fact, yan nga ang argument nila, that's ours.
But are we recognizing it, sir?
Of course not. We're not. As far as we're concerned, we've been ruled to be owning that portion of territory. Or we have exclusive right to particular territories.
It can be recalled it was President Rodrigo Duterte who said in his Fourth State of the Nation Address or SONA that China claims the property and it is in possession of it. Meanwhile, the top security officials, particularly Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana and National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon, have clarified that what the president meant is that China is in possession and not in possession of the West Philippine Sea. The palace insists the Duterte administration does not recognize the legal possession of China, but the problem are their military installations in the West Philippine Sea.
Naintindihan niyan, paulit-ulit na sinasabi ni Presidente, according to them, they own it. As far as they're concerned, legally, it's theirs. Tayo naman, as far as we're concerned, it's also legally ours. Kaya nga nagkakaroon ng conflict kasi both of us are claiming. Ang problema lang, as the President repeatedly said, and as stated also by the two security defense officials, they are in positional advantage. Kami ni Presidente, they're in possession, constructive possession because of their military hardwares situated there. Yan ang ibig sabihin nun.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV, News and Rescue, Malacañang.
The Office of the Vice President wants the Office of the Solicitor General to explain their alleged involvement in the drafting of the Peter Jomel Advincula alias BIKOY'S affidavit. Here's Grace Casin to tell us why.
Vice President Leni Robredo spokesperson Attorney Barry Gutierrez said today the Office of the Solicitor General or OSG should explain the issue that has been surfing, that they helped Peter Jomel Advincula alias Bikoy in drafting his affidavit. Alias Bikoy's affidavit alleges that Vice President is among those behind the Ang Totoo Narcolist videos.
Even if they say, legally, pwede namang i-allow to dahil walang express prohibition, I think they still have to explain if it is true na talagang sila ang nag-draft, why in this particular case they chose to participate and single it out from the hundreds of other cases.
Attorney Barry Gutierrez added that Vice President's critics have long wanted to oust the second highest leader in the country. In a statement, Attorney Larry Gadon, Advincula's legal counsel, says that VP Robredo gets indicted on the sedition or inciting to sedition charges. This may use as ground for the filing of impeachment complaints against her.
we're very, very bothered by these statements na impeachment pala talaga ang patutunguhan nito. Mukhang merong hand ng OSG dito. Kasi all of that taken together would seem to indicate that this is not an ordinary criminal proceeding as they would have us believe. But this is really, as we have been saying from the start, politically motivated and calculated to harass the Vice President.
Meanwhile, the Vice President's camp is now preparing to answer all charges against VP Robredo. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Malacañang is hands-off on the plan to file impeachment complaints against Vice President Leni Robredo because of alleged efforts to oust the Duterte administration, as well as Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio because of his supposed encroachment of presidential prerogative on the maritime dispute in the West Philippine Sea. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelos said they will let those who plan about it, as well as Congress, to push the complaint or not.
Hayaan na lang namin sila.
Okay.
Let Congress decides. Trabaho nila yun eh. We'll just watch in amusement. In other words, we will not interfere. Let them do their thing. If they want, they can do everything not illegal.
Senators of the 18th Congress have varying positions on the proposed reinstatement of the death penalty in the Philippines. Meanwhile, some senators have expressed their position on other priority legislations. Nel Marie Bohok will tell us why.
13 senators have expressed they are in favor of the reimposition of the death penalty in the country, while 10 others have hinted their disapproval of the death penalty bill. 13 is a sufficient number for the bill to be approved in Senate. However, there is also a possibility that some may retract their positions given their varying versions of the bill. The senators are also divided on how the penalty will be executed. Senator Manny Pacquiao is among the 13 senators who have hinted they will vote for the passage of the proposal.
Basta death penalty, kahit anong paraan, either lethal injection or basta death penalty.
The 12 others are Senate President Vicente Sotto III, Senators Bongo, Ronald De La Rosa, Sherwin Gatchalian, Aquilino Pimentel III, Panfilo Lacson, Lito Lapid, Amy Marcos, Bong Revilla, Francis Tolentino, Cynthia Villar, and Pia Cayetano. The majority bloc wants to limit the death penalty for high-level drug trafficking, while neophyte Senator Go wants to include the crime of plunder as what President Rodrigo Duterte stated in his fourth State of the Nation address. The 10 senators who are not in favor of the bill include Senators Franklin Drilon, Risa Ontiveros, Laila De Lima, Francis Pangilinan, Juan Miguel Zubiri, Richard Gordon, Grace Poe, Nancy Binay, Ralph Recto, and Joel Villanueva. While Senator Sani Angara has reservation and wants to hear first the debate on the bill. As for other priority legislations, 5 senators are already in favor of the passage of the Mandatory Reserve Officers Training Corps or ROTC bill. But as expected, there will be a thorough debate on whether the ROTC is indeed suitable to grades 11 and 12 students. Senators Ontiveros and Marcos have rejected the proposal.
So, hindi pwede yan sa mga kabataan. Sabi ni Presidente, K-11 and K-12. Parang makikiusap po ako na kontra yan sa mga pinirmahan nating UN resolutions.
In the passage of proposed postponement of the Sangguniang Kabataan and barangay elections from May 2020 to October 2022, according to Senator Tolentino, the proposal may be swiftly passed in Senate.
Mukhang lusot na yun, oo. Talagang extend yan. Hindi ko nakita yung draft bills nila, pero mauuna sa agenda ng local government yan.
Nel Marie Bohok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Malacañang is hands-off on the plan to file impeachment complaints against Vice President Leni Robredo because of alleged House Majority Leader Martin Romualdez today expressed optimism that the House of Representatives would approve in record time the priority measures outlined by President Rodrigo Duterte in his 2019 State of the Nation address. In his statement, they target to pass the bills in the committee level in the first week of August. These include the National Land Act, Department of Disaster Resilience, Coconut Levy Fund, Trabajo Bill, alcohol taxes, Mandatory Reserve Officers Training Corps or ROTC, and others. Congressman Romualdez met House Secretariat officials involved in the committee and plenary deliberations of bills already filed. They discussed ways on how to expedite the approval of pending legislative measures from the committee level to the plenary. Philippine National Police are still unsure if they would recommend another extension of the martial rule in Mindanao. On the other hand, the Armed Forces of the Philippines say they will consider the National Security Advisor's recommendation before submitting their own proposal on the matter to the President. Nina Armilio reports why.
For Philippine National Police Chief Police General Oscar Albayalde, it is not yet time to talk about the extension of martial law in Mindanao. He says it is too early to discuss the topic as there is still a possibility the situation in the region will improve.
That's still very far. Ang martial law natin still until December pa, no? Who knows, before December baka gumanda na rin yung situation doon and probably the president will not see the relevance of martial law anymore.
The PNP chief adds they will beef up their monitoring in Mindanao to thwart further entry of terrorists, as well as their campaign against insurgency, which is already more than 50 years ongoing, according to him. For the PNP, the public's cooperation is essential in identifying and catching individuals or groups that intend to sow terrorism and violence in the region.
Para matapos na yung problema natin sa insurgency sa buong Pilipinas. And this is a whole government approach ito, whole nation approach.
It can also be noted that the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP have expressed their support to the recommendation made by National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon Jr. to extend martial rule in Mindanao. This, as the AFP believe the National Security Advisor holds information to back his recommendation. According to AFP spokesperson Brigadier General Edgar Arevalo, the military in Mindanao will hold their own assessment before submitting their own recommendation to President Rodrigo Duterte. He adds they will consider Esperon's endorsement. The AFP will also seek the recommendation of local chief executives given the varying situations in every locality. Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio has earlier appealed to lift martial law in her jurisdiction, saying that the security situation in the city is stable. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up to where Angelo Castro III left off. I am Alex Baltazar, and here are the headlines. The Department of the Interior and Local Government warns to suspend mayors who will fail to comply with the 60-day period for clearing of public roads. The Social Security System issues a show-cause order against 15 business firms in Novaliches, Quezon City. COMELEC says voter registration for the May 2020 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections to still open on August 1 despite President Duterte's call for postponement. 6 Philippine Navy patrol vessels set to be built in a shipyard in Cebu. And find out how video streaming changed the way Filipinos watch television programs. Good evening. The Department of the Interior and Local Government met with Metro Manila mayors today to impose measures to address the worsening traffic situation in the metropolis. This to adhere with President Rodrigo Duterte's directive during his 4th State of the Nation address. Joanano tells us why.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, is drafting a memorandum circular directing the 17 mayors of Metro Manila to clear their respective roads of any traffic obstructions. During the Metro Manila Council meeting held earlier today, the DILG instructed the mayors to remove all illegal structure that block roads that cause traffic congestion. Other measures include the towing of illegally parked vehicles and removal of illegal vendors that occupy sidewalks. The DILG will also ask the Metro Manila mayors to come up with a concrete plan on how to implement the clearing operations. Once the agency finalizes the memorandum circular, the local officials will be given 60 days to comply with the order. Should a local chief executive fail to comply and has been proved of negligence, the DILG will resort to suspension.
Once we see that there is gross negligence of duty or dereliction of duty, we can recommend a suspension of the mayor, and the president without second thought will sign our recommendation for suspension. So kaya magiging mahigpit po kami dito.
Several Metro Manila mayors expressed their support, saying they have already started to implement measures in their cities.
60 days is enough time. As long as the mayors will exert political will, this is very doable.
Yes, I think 60 days is a fair deadline. Kakayanin po natin eh. Mas malaking problema po sa amin ngayon, yung mga tolda ng sakali, yung mga burol, tapos nandun po, nag-i-extend lagpas ng sidewalk pa nga. So yun po yung mga kailangan natin. Kailangan lang po ng strict implementation.
Kinausap ko na po ang mga officers ng Association of Vendors upang sila po ay talagang lumikas at ako naman po ay tumutulong para maghanap ng ibang venue para po mapagtindahan nila. Gagawa namin sila ng ordinansa upang hindi po sila patakbo-takbo.
On the other hand, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno again warns corrupt politicians over extortion from illegal vendors, which makes it hard for the city office to impose discipline among them.
Yung totoo lang ha, sa totohanan, gusto natin tulungan yung mga mahirap. Kayong mga politiko, tigilan yung tumanggap ng pera sa mga vendor. Tapos magkiklaim tayo, para sa mahirap. Sino ngayon ang tunay na para sa mahirap? Yung pinayayaman mo, yung organizer. Ako wala pa ako nakitang yumaman na vendor. Pero organizer, building na bahay.
Joanna, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
The San Juan City government's implementation of the no parking policy on several streets in Barangay Green Hills begins today. Under Executive Order Number 4 signed by San Juan City Mayor Francis Zamora, motorists are prohibited to park their vehicles along Club Filipino Avenue, Annapolis, Missouri, and Connecticut streets from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Vehicles should be parked within the parking space of Green Hills Shopping Mall. Earlier today, Mayor Zamora personally painted the sidewalk and put up no parking signage.
Ang laking perwisyo pong ginagawa nito sa lahat po ng dumadaan sa mga kalyeng ito. At para sa akin, mas importante yung kapakanan ng mas nakararami kaysa yung mga parada. Total, meron namang mga parking facilities dito sa shopping center na pwede na lang paradahan. At mas importante yung mismong main thoroughfares ay cleared of obstruction and parked cars.
Meanwhile, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian on Thursday called on President Rodrigo Duterte to certify as urgent the proof of parking space bill to help decongest roads in Metro Manila. In a statement, Gatchalian made the call following Duterte's order during his fourth State of the Nation address or SONA for the Department of the Interior and Local Government to reclaim all public roads that are being used for private purposes. The Senate Bill number 368 or the Proof of Parking Space Act, which was filed by Gatchalian, proposes to require respective vehicle owners to present proof that they have a parking space for the new vehicle they would be purchasing. Gatchalian also said that the current administration is in a good position to achieve real change by overhauling Metro Manila's outdated public transportation system. The Social Security system issues showcause orders to establishments in Quezon City with delinquent employers. The SSS appeals to its members to monitor employer contributions in their accounts and to report employers who do not comply with the law. Harleen Delgado explains why.
The Social Security System, or SSS, have found out that 15 establishments in Novaliches, Quezon City, with employers who do not fulfill their obligations to the state pension fund. With this, the SSS issued show-cause orders to those firms with delinquent employers this morning. First on the list is this general merchandise store. The store employees faced the SSS officials since the store owner was not around. Some of the workers admit they are not registered as SSS members.
Hindi bago lang kasi ako. Buong nakukuha yung sahod.
The owner of this tailor shop, meanwhile, claims her personnel have not been registered as SSS members as they're only helpers.
Dito lang yun sila, tumutulong lang sa akin.
Kahit na basta po na tumutulong sa inyong business, kailangan po nating i-rehistro po.
Meanwhile, the Sapartel has been tagged for not remitting its employees' SSS contributions since March last year.
Obligation po nila to na from the first day of their business or operation, they should register already yung kanilang employees. So kung wala hong ganon, kaya ho kami umiikot just to issue a reminder to them.
The apprehended businesses are given 15 days to explain why no legal action shall be taken against the owners for non-compliance as mandated in Republic Act 11199 or the Social Security Act of 2018. Failure to comply would prompt the agency to file charges against the owners, with penalties of not less than 6 years and 1 day up to 12 years of imprisonment, and a fine of not less than 5,000 pesos to 20,000 pesos. With this, the SSS also urged other delinquent employers to avail of the agency's penalty condonation program until September this year to waive their penalties for unpaid contributions. The agency also appeals to employees who are not yet SSS members to register. The SSS also urged their members to monitor the remittance of their contributions and report to them their erring employers who are not complying with the law.
Kunyari, ikaw ay isang ordinary empleyado and then you suspect that your employer is not contributing doon sa account mo. Go to the application, tok. Kita mo, wala pang recorded sa akin. You can tip off na sabihin mo gano'n, si employer na ganyan, hindi tumutupad sa SSS.
The agency assured complainants that they will observe confidentiality for those who fear to be reprimanded by their employers. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Commission on Elections calls on Filipinos to register for the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections on May 2020 as the voter registration is set to start next month. This although President Rodrigo Duterte has requested the 18th Congress to postpone the polls to year 2022. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte clearly requested Congress for the postponement of the May 2020 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan or SK elections when he delivered his State of the Nation address on Monday. According to the Chief Executive, this is to give barangay officials the opportunity to implement and accomplish the projects they have started.
I also implore Congress, you have to study this very carefully. Congress has to postpone the May 2020 election. And yung Barangay Sangguniang Kabataan to October 2022.
The president also wants to implement change and reform in the barangay level because of narco politicians and corruption issues in the Youth Council. According to the Commission on Elections or COMELEC, they will still have to pursue their preparations for the barangay and SK polls in May 2020 until a law is passed for the postponement. Voter registration will run for 2 months, from August 1 to September 30, 2019.
We cannot stop preparations. Pero most likely, nasa radar na natin na mayroong potential na postponement. So we're looking out for that very closely and then pinag-uusapan ngayon how that will affect the pace of our preparations.
According to Jose Priero Nicolas, a barangay chairman and a former member of the board of directors of the League of Barangays in Caloocan City, the proposal favors them because they still have to accomplish the programs they have initiated.
Especially kami mga incumbent, mas gusto namin talaga ma-postpone. Kasi actually we just had a 2018 election, that was May. So tapos magkakaroon ng almost 2 years, bali 2 years lang kami. Hindi kasya sa pagbigay namin ng service kasi 2 years is very short. Plus talagang ang dapat sa local government, we should serve 3 years. Tama lang naman na ma-postpone para maibalik na rin sa tamang calendar ang election kasi is nakalagay sa local government is October ang barangay election.
COMELEC for their part encouraged Filipinos who are eligible to register. pursuant to COMELEC Resolution number 10549. Any Filipino citizen who is not yet a registered voter, who will be at least 15 years of age on May 11, 2020, and residing in the barangay for at least 6 months on or before Election Day is eligible to register. Registered voters as of the May 13, 2019 midterm elections need not apply. Applications may be filed from Mondays to Saturdays, including holidays, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the office of the election officer or any satellite registration site in the locality where the registrant resides. About 2 million new voters are expected to register, the poll body says. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Caloocan City.
The Philippines eyes more investors to come in the country after a leap in global ranking among the world's most innovative countries. Here's why from Ray Pelayo.
The Global Innovation Index 2019 places the Philippines in the 54th place. This is 19 steps higher than the country's rank in 2017 and 2018, which was 73. Global Innovation Index is a ranking of world economies based on innovation capabilities, which covers 129 countries. Department of Science and Technology Secretary Fortunato de la Peña cited some of the Philippines' strengths that made it to its rank this year. These include high-tech net import and export, information and communications technology or ICT services, creative good exports, research talent, trade, competition, and market scale, and knowledge absorption and diffusion.
Masasabi nating basically yung innovation outputs ang isa sa factors, ano? But I guess the method that they deployed was able to capture more accurately what has been happening, you know.
On the other hand, the Philippines' innovation weaknesses include the ease of starting a business, ease of getting credit, investment including in education, tertiary inbound mobility, and new business. President Rodrigo Duterte mentioned in his 4th State of the Nation Address or SONA last Monday his disappointment with the status of the ease of doing business in the Philippines.
I've been asking that from you since 3 years ago. Pag hindi pa din yung nagawa yan ngayon, papatayin ko talaga kayo. Nabubwisit na. Simplify and make your services responsive to client-friendly.
The UST banners some of Filipino innovations in different sectors like the hybrid train, dengue detection kit, space technology, plant food supplement, and hazard hunter that shows multi-hazard indications in a specific area. Secretary de la Peña said the latest ranking of the Philippines is seen to attract more investors.
And we are really in need to attract more investments from outside so that we can fuel our economic development and growth.
Switzerland, Sweden, the United States, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom are the top 5 in the Global Innovation Index 2019 rankings. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
New Philippine Navy patrol vessels will be built in Cebu as part of the AFP modernization program, the first of which is expected to be completed 2 years from now. Gladys Tuwabi will tell us why.
6 Philippine Navy patrol vessels will be manufactured in the Philippines. The Department of National Defense will be working with Austal Philippines, an Australian shipbuilding company based in the province of Cebu.
We might as well utilize them instead of outsourcing our shipbuilding abroad.
The said project is expected to give employment to Cebuanos, especially those who are living in Balamban town. Austal offers a bigger version of Cape-class patrol vessels used by the Royal Australian Navy and the Australian Border Force. The Philippine government has allocated 30 billion pesos for the manufacture of the new patrol vessel as part of the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP modernization program, the first of which is expected to be completed in 2021.
Now, ordering a ship or a plane is not something that you just go to the market and pull one and bring home. You have to order it, or you have to build it according to the specifications, and all this is customized to your needs, and it takes time. And it will be building up from the ground up, so the hull, everything. So it takes time to build it. So 24 months will be time to rain.
The Philippine government is processing the necessary papers to officially start the production of the new Philippine Navy assets. Gladys Tuabi, UNTV News and Rescue, Cebu.
Many Filipinos watch television programs using video streaming websites nowadays. Let's find out how video streaming websites have changed the Filipinos' viewing experience in Mon Hocson's report.
There's no need to rush towards home just to watch your favorite TV program. Even when you're in the middle of EDSA or waiting for the train to arrive, if you have a decent amount of data in your mobile phone, you can watch your favorite shows online. This is possible with the advent of YouTube and other video streaming websites.
This rule that prime time is now really personal.
YouTube says the Filipinos are now more inclined to use video streaming websites more than television.
YouTube has become a lot more mainstream to Filipino users. It's becoming an increasingly part of the fabric of society. Filipinos come to YouTube every day to consume the content they love, to educate themselves and to be inspired.
From entertainment to how-tos, videos of almost any topic is available on YouTube. The Philippines is the fastest growing YouTube market. In fact, 750 YouTube channels in the Philippines have more than 100,000 subscribers, while 20 of these have more than 1 million subscribers. One of the most popular YouTube channels is Wish 1075. Today, Wish FM's YouTube channel has more than 6.3 million subscribers. According to Wish FM's Vice President for Marketing, Mr. J. Eusebio, YouTube has helped promote the music content the channel has been producing.
And today, we were able to actually push some content that our audience actually likes. And it's one of the ways actually to connect with people via music. And we're bringing in really innovative content. People singing in the bus, we've never seen that before. And hence, it kind of like also click with the audience.
Right.
That's how YouTube is helping us.
And the Wish Plus is now iconic, I would say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The partnership between YouTube and Wish FM has helped a lot of OPM artists in the Philippines, Mr. Eusebio says.
Being able to help the music industry. Right. And what we wanted to say with YouTube, we were able to be the gateway to the world of these artists, Filipino artists that would be popular because of YouTube.
Yes.
So we've been able to achieve that in so short a time.
Because of thousands of contents uploaded daily on YouTube, Filipinos have become more informed. YouTube encourages more Filipinos, especially those in the province, to make more creative contents to cater to the viewing demands of Filipinos.
Our second biggest focus would be learning and education. We really believe that learning and education would be impactful because we want to have the right amount of positive influence on Filipino society.
YouTube clarified, however, that video streaming is far from competing with TV since their goal is to serve the viewing public. Mon Hocson, UNTV News and Rescue.
And to complete the most significant news for this day, Y News continues. Here are the top stories. Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea confirms President Rodrigo Duterte has already signed House Bill 8677 or Senate Bill 2233 that increases tobacco excise tax. The law aims to increase the excise tax from 35 pesos to 45 pesos per cigarette pack of the first year of its implementation. The Malacañang official said this will address the urgent need to protect the right to health of the Filipino people and to maintain a broader fiscal space to support the implementation of the Universal Health Care Act. Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte will consider the extension of martial law in Mindanao upon the recommendation of local government units in the region. The chief executive made the statement when he led the inauguration of the Candon City Bypass Road in Candon City, Ilocos Sur today. Martial law in Mindanao has been extended for several times due to terrorism and rebellion after the Marawi siege in May 23, 2017. But if the president is to be asked, he does not want martial law to be extended.
You know, Mindanao continues to be a problem. I am not advocating for any continuance of the martial law. But if the local government units, the governors, mayors, and even congressmen would find it that it would be to the best interest of the Filipino in Mindanao, I would not hesitate to say yes.
The government will implement a nationwide speed limit to lessen the increasing number of accidents in Philippine roads. Mon Hokson will tell us why.
The Department of Transportation, the Land Transportation Office, and public law organization Imagine Law PH signed a joint memorandum circular today to set a nationwide speed limit on all roads across the Philippines. This move aims to lessen the number of road accidents caused by overspeeding vehicles. Based on the joint memorandum circular, the DOTR and the LTO will order local government units to implement the nationwide speed limit. On national primary roads, the maximum speed is 80 kph on flat roads, 60 kph on rolling topography, and 50 kph on mountainous roads. On national secondary roads, the maximum speed on flat topography is 70 kph, 60 kph on rolling topography, and 40 kph on mountainous roads. In urban areas, 30 kph is the maximum speed on open roads for four-wheeled vehicles and motorcycles. 50 kph for trucks and buses. The speed limit on through streets is 40 kph for cars and motorcycles, and 30 kph for trucks and buses, while the speed limit on crowded roads is 20 kph. But the challenge is on implementation, since the nationwide speed limit will be carried out by the LGUs.
The unfortunate thing is that under the Constitution, our local governments enjoy independence from the national government with respect to ordinances. So hindi po natin sila mapipilit na mag-enact ng ordinance. Ini-encourage namin yung mga citizens na sila po yung manawagan sa LGU na magpatupad po ng speed limit ordinance.
The LTO also lacks manpower. That's why they are requesting assistance from the local government unit. Aside from the enforcement, another problem is the fund to implement the ordinance. LTO Chief Edgar Galvante calls on those who want to help them in funding the nationwide speed limit.
If there are let's say other organization sectors that could help us get this equipment, we will welcome them very much.
Violators of the nationwide speed limit will be fined 1,700 pesos. The DOTR also aims to fully train all local government units in implementing the nationwide speed limit in 2 to 3 years' time. Image Law PH cited a Philippine Statistics Authority report showing that at least 11,360 people, mostly pedestrians, were killed in 2017 through road crash caused by speeding cars, which led to the crafting of the Joint Memorandum Circular. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
President Rodrigo Duterte is weighing all factors before deciding on the security of 10-year bill, according to Malacañang. The bill is set to lapse into law on July 27, 2 days from now, if not vetoed or signed into law. Labor groups believe the security of 10-year bill will somehow help resolve the issue on the end of contractualization in the country. On the other hand, business groups are appealing to the president not to sign the proposal because they believe it will harm the country's economy as well as the Filipino workers themselves.
If he feels that signing the law will create not beneficial effects to the major players, he might consider vetoing it. But if he does not feel that way, he will sign that into law. Ganun naman si Presidente.
So hindi pa pala certain because there's just 2 days left.
Hindi pa natin alam kung. He's just open to all.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. Kath, good evening.
Good evening, William. North Korea fired 2 short-range missiles early on Thursday from its eastern coast. South Korea's military said the first missile test since leader Kim Jong-un and U.S. President Donald Trump agreed to revive stalled denuclearization talks. The missiles, launched from near the eastern coastal city of Wonsan, flew about 430 kilometers and reached an altitude of 50 kilometers before falling into the East Sea. It comes after anger from the North over planned military exercises between South Korea and the U.S. next month. South Korea's defense ministry urged North Korea to stop acts that are unhelpful for easing military tension. South Korea's bid to garner international support in a row with Japan by airing its case at the World Trade Organization brought no visible dividend as no other countries took the floor to support either side. This report explains why.
South Korea tried to bring international pressure on Japan by airing its complaints over trade at the World Trade Organization General Council. Japan has enraged South Korea with a plan to normalize trade procedures that are currently simplified, effectively curbing exports to South Korea and erecting a barrier that could disrupt the global supply of semiconductors. That followed a ruling last year by a South Korean court that Japanese companies had to pay compensation to South Koreans forced to work in Japanese factories during Japan's occupation of the Korean Peninsula from 1910 to 1945.
Using trade as a political tool was common in the past, and WTO members all know that developing trade for political purposes has usually resulted in catastrophic consequences.
Japan's Representative Shingo Yamagami, Director General of Japan's Foreign Ministry's Economic Affairs Bureau, said that the measures are neither an outright ban on export nor countermeasures over any trade issue, but export control measures that follow the WTO rules.
This is not an export embargo. If South Korean government is carrying out a stringent export control, that may change the situation. But you cannot switch the subject from export control to trade issue.
South Korea had brought the dispute to the WTO's General Council, hoping to rally international opposition to Japan's move. But no other WTO members took the floor, and diplomats from several other countries, they preferred not to get involved in the dispute between two nations with an intertwined and complex history.
The chair of the General Council concluded wishing this issue be solved bilaterally.
Meanwhile, in Seoul, South Korea protested against the Japanese plan to remove it from a list of countries that face minimum trade restrictions, saying it would undermine their decades-old economy and security cooperation and threaten free trade. South Korea's industry ministry said in a statement, Japan's removal of South Korea from the list would undermine their economic and security partnership. It asked Japan to scrap the plan, flagging concerns over wider disruptions of global supply chains involving South Korean chip and screen makers. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
U.S. President Donald Trump's claim that he was totally exonerated by special counsel Robert Mueller was rejected by Mueller in a hearing on Wednesday. Mueller said he had not exonerated Mr. Trump of obstruction of justice. However, Trump criticized Mueller's performance and said, "This was a great day for me." Mueller spent 2 years probing alleged collusion between the 2016 Trump campaign and Russia, but did not establish collusion in a crime. However, he concluded that Russia interfered in the election on Trump's behalf. In all, 35 people and 3 companies were charged by the special counsel on matters relating both directly and indirectly to alleged Russian interference in the 2016 election. No members of the Trump family were charged. Puerto Rico's Governor Ricardo Rossello has announced his resignation after days of mass street protests in the U.S. territory. Rosello, who had only on Sunday insisted he would stay on, said he would continue working until 2nd August to allow an orderly transition. He has been at the center of a group text message scandal that has already led 2 top officials to resign. The leaked messages revealed sexist, profane, and homophobic comments. The chat, which contained 880 pages of exchanges between the governor and 11 male allies, was leaked on 13th of July and led to days of protests outside the governor's mansion in San Juan. Residents in Western Europe are suffering through dangerously high temperature. Jovic Burmas will tell us why.
Belgium, Germany, and the Netherlands have recorded their highest ever temperatures as the second extreme heat wave in as many months to be linked by scientists to the climate emergency grips the continent. The Belgian town of Kleine-Brugge hit 39.9 degrees Celsius or 102 degrees Fahrenheit, the hottest since 1833. Belgium's weather authority issued its first ever code red warning.
We're about to break the national heat record for Belgium. We are announcing 39 or locally 40 degrees. We are observing the weather since 1833, so nearly 200 years, and we never experienced this kind of temperatures.
The southern Dutch city of Eindhoven beat the 75-year-old national record with a new high of 39.3 degrees Celsius. Germany's weather service said a new record of 40.5 degrees Celsius, just 0.2 degrees Celsius higher, had been set in Geilenkirchen near the Belgian and Dutch borders. The new German record was still to be confirmed, it said, warning that it could get even hotter on Thursday. Luxembourg is on red alert for the south and the capital, with temperatures possibly climbing higher than 40 degrees Celsius on Thursday. In Portugal, hundreds of firefighters extinguished a forest fire that had been plaguing the Castelo Branco region for days, though fires are not unusual during the summer season. Elsewhere, French reports suggested 5 deaths might have been linked to the heat wave. The highest temperature recorded in Paris, 40.4 degrees Celsius in 1947, is expected to be surpassed on Thursday.
It's really hot and it's almost too hot. I want to take a swim, but I can't right now.
20 of France's administrative areas were put on red alert, the highest heat wave warning by Meteo France on Wednesday, while the government has imposed restrictions on water use in 73 of them due to drought. Despite the sweltering temperatures, Meteo France said the heat wave would be short-lived. Fresh air from the west is set to bring lower temperatures along with possible storms and rain to the country in the coming days. Scientists have said such heat waves are closely linked to the climate emergency and will be many times more likely over the coming decades. Jovic Burmas, UNTV News and Rescue, Europe.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much, Kaf Maraos, reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. Facebook will pay a record-breaking $5 billion fine to resolve a government probe into its privacy practices. The social network must also establish an independent privacy committee that Facebook's chief executive Mark Zuckerberg will not have control over. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission had been probing allegations political consultancy Cambridge Analytica improperly obtained the data of up to 87 million Facebook users. The probe then widened to include other issues such as facial recognition. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg told employees it was an important day for Facebook and the start of a new chapter for the company.
We've agreed to pay a $5 billion fine, which is one of the largest in history. But even more importantly, we're going to be making some major changes to the way that we build products and the way that we run this company. So I wanted to take the time to go through these changes with all of you in person.
The designer of the medals to be awarded to winning Olympians next year says he is still coming to terms after his design was chosen among more than 400 professional designers and design students. The medal design, organizers say, is meant to symbolize diversity. Ferdy Petalio will tell us why.
A day after his design for the medals to be awarded at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics was revealed to the world, designer Junichi Kawanishi is still in surprise with his instant fame. Speaking at the Tokyo 2020 news conference today, Kawanishi shared that he is happy his medal design will be a three-dimensional model. Kawanishi won a nationwide competition to design the medals for the Olympics and Paralympics next year. His craft was unveiled on Wednesday during the one-year-to-go ceremony in the Japanese capital. The medals feature the iconic 5 rings Olympic symbol and the Tokyo 2020 logo. About 32 kilograms of gold were extracted from 6.2 million used mobile phones donated over 2 years by the Japanese public. The graphic designer from Osaka also revealed how he thought of the design.
It depends on if you see this as Japan or the Earth. I see this as the Earth and the world. By receiving light from various angles, in this case, I thought receiving cheers and support from the public, outside light and thoughts of people. When light is reflected, it scatters in various directions. It's not in one direction. So, I envisioned that when the athlete has the medal, the light reflected from it would disperse in all directions to be seen by many.
The design is intended to symbolize diversity and represent a world where people who compete in sports and work hard are honored, according to organizers. The Paralympic medal design will be revealed in August. Ferdy Petalio, UNTV News and Rescue.
A 107-year-old bicycle racetrack runs vintage cars every year and brings spectators a quick look in the past. Nina Armilio will tell us why.
Zurich Velodrome hosted a vintage car show on Tuesday as dozens of retro vehicles raced in front of thousands of nostalgic spectators. Around 60 vintage racing and sports cars and motorcycles took over the bicycle racetrack in the city for a few hours for the 17th edition of the Indianapolis in Oerlikon Festival. Among the drivers was Christoph Karl, a German collector who rode his 1938 Lagonda and wanted to share his pure hobby to the public.
You can see something in the engine. Something is moving. You hear the cars. You can repair something by your own, and that's the pure hobby. Pure mechanic and pure driving.
All the vehicles featured at the race were at least half a century old, with some dating as far back as the 1920s. George Donny, a Swiss collector driving his 1974 Jaguar, said he had come to celebrate the way historic cars changed how people got around to see the world.
Before that, people were riding horses, but only if you could afford it. And else you had to walk, and you walk maybe 20 kilometers a day. But I mean, us human beings, we wanted to travel, we wanted to see things. And so with these cars, you see how it all started, how we could develop and how we could see more of the world.
One of the VIP participants was Caroline Bugatti, granddaughter of car designer Ettore Bugatti, who drove a car built by her grandfather in 1929. Indianapolis on the open racetrack in Zurich Oerlikon is a spectacle for all lovers of classic cars and cars every summer. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the reasons behind the news this July 25, 2019. On behalf of Alex Baltazar and Angelo Castro III, I am William Theo, and before we close, we will recap with today's significant soundbites. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
I am not advocating for any continuance of the martial law. But if the local government units, the governors, mayors, and even congressmen would find it that it will be to the best interest of the Filipino in Mindanao, I would not hesitate to say yes.
Kasi by historical right now, they've been there all the while. Kaya hindi ba sinasabi nila? In fact, yan nga ang argument nila. That's ours.
Why in this particular case they chose to participate and single it out from the hundreds of other cases?
Once we see that there is gross negligence of duty or dereliction of duty, we can recommend a suspension of the mayor, and the president without second thought will sign our recommendation for suspension. So kaya magiging mahigpit po kami dito.